Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friday Food Fight. My name is Wes Christian, your host for this week, and we're joined by Bart Christian, nationally recognized speaker, and a very special guest. And I'm going to turn it over to Bart to introduce our special guest for today. Bart, who are we talking with?
It's my pleasure, and Wes, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and introduce my good friend, Dr. Robert Lewis. You know, Robert, you got quite the history, and you've done a lot of things in the industry. And like me, you've spent a whole lot of time in child nutrition. You know, I thought I was an old timer with about 27 years, but you've got about 30 in child nutrition. And I know that, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but you're Dr. Robert, you know, and I think that's so when people say, "What's up, doc," to you, they really mean that. And I know that you've just recently made a transition from the district that you were at to Santa Clarita Valley Food Services Agency, where you serve as the CEO. And I don't know, I know you're quite the job. You have 38 schools and 4 separate school districts that you work with.
Yes.
I know that you've won multiple awards, and I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But among those was Director of the Year for the West Region by the National School Nutrition Association. And I didn't realize I knew you enjoyed cooking and hiking, because I stalk you and John on Facebook from time to time and see what you're up to. But I also know that you had quite the journey. I've noticed you posted a lot of pictures where you actually are now in clothes that are 20 years old. So you've been going through a transition to get yourself in better shape, and I think that's got the hiking and the things that you guys do. But what was your motivation to do that? I mean, I just gave a talk not too very long ago on, you know, why we would do something. You know, what's your why? So what was your why for doing that and making that journey is to lose the weight and get yourself in shape?
Well, nobody wants to be fat and 50. So
Amen.
I just started working out and eating better and reading a lot of books about healthy eating and what foods actually do for our bodies. And we need to set the example for the kids that we serve. You know, we are the first line of defense in fighting this virus and this flu. I say that because the nutrients we provide our children are the ones that they are going to utilize to fight the pandemic. And if we're not giving it to them, I'm not so sure that they're getting it at home. So we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to give them all the vitamins and minerals and other nutrients that they need. And so in taking that to heart, I've sort of made my own journey and doing a lot of cooking at home. This pandemic's kind of forced us to cook at home. And so I've just been doing a lot of experimenting with healthy recipes and things like that and really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. It is enjoyable. And we found ourselves doing the same thing, doing a lot more cooking at home. And I love what you said about setting the proper example, because I think in child nutrition, we're charged with a lot of different things. But one of the things that we're charged with is to set a good example, not only nutritionally, but I think physically and also attitudinally with with the kids, because they rely on us for a lot of things.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mentioned that you won Director of the Year. I know that you have you probably have a wing in your house with awards, because I know you won.
In my wall of shame.
Your wall of shame. That's right. So you've been recognized quite a bit. So tell us a couple other more notable things that you've gotten awarded for.
One of the things that I got in 2018 was Director of the Year for California. That meant a lot to me. I spent my career here. I've also been a FAME award winner. You probably know the FAME award. That was in 2013. I'm just going to look sideways at the trophies there. I had No Kid Hungry gave me a national award in 2012. Here, I'll get you a little shot there. There you go. There's a mini wall of shame over there in the office. So yeah, I find it's not so much about ego. It's more like how I can help other people serve children, and the more I can learn, the more I can share, and the more I like to share. I'm a very talkative person. I like to share ideas and share award history, but share the ways that we can better serve our children. And I always say, you can't shut me up. I'm the son of a used car salesman and a Southern beautician. So
I was there when you won the 2013 Fame Award. I was there when you received that award. And, something that stuck with me, and I've never told you this, but when you got, and I think a lot of people in child nutrition do this, but when you got up and you said a few words, I remember you being very, very specific about, this is not my award.
Yeah.
This is my team's award. This is not something I'm honored by this. I'm paraphrasing, but you were honored by that. But you made very special point to call out your team and the fact that was a team award, not a Robert award.
Yeah, they do the work. They just make me look good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with my new place here too. I've been here now 7.5 months, and it's really a different situation. We're serving 4 school districts. That means 4 different boards of education, 4 different superintendents, but somehow they're making it work. And it's just a lot of communication and just tracing the pandemic on a day-to-day basis and trying to serve our public wherever they might be, whether it might be the Boys and Girls Club or the library or at the schools or at another community center. We track it and trace it and communicate on a daily basis. And that's what we're here to do, making sure the kids get fed.
Yep.
That's awesome. Right. Well, Robert, what since we're talking about Santa Clarita Valley Food Services Agency, tell us a little bit about what's new this upcoming year for your operation.
Okay, well, what is new is that we're still on the watch list here in Los Angeles County, which means our governor will not open the schools. So we're probably going to start this school year for about the first 2 or 3 months being closed, meaning that everything will be online. So in meeting with our constituency and our team, we've come up with a plan of serving in a drive-through service, sort of similar to what we've been doing now, a drive-up service at the schools, and we'll be serving individual students at their home school with the drive-up service from 10:30 to 12:30. So that's new. Some of the schools will sponsor daycares, so those will be run by Boys and Girls Clubs and other community groups. And so those daycares, we will also serve them, but probably in the classroom or in the cafeteria, depending on how many students will be there. That's one of the new things. We're going to package the meals, a breakfast and a lunch package together. So what else is new is out of the 38 plus schools, we now have 11 schools that are CEP, Community Eligibility Provision. So over the summer, my staff and I put all those numbers together. We worked really hard to crunch them, and we got every last school we could qualified for CEP. So what does that mean? That means that every child at those 11 schools can eat at no cost. They don't have to turn in a free or reduced application. And that application, that CEP, is good for the next 4 years. So we won't have to apply again for 2024. So that's really
great.
Cool. So that's new this year too. The superintendents are loving that because these are the schools where we see the greatest need. And those are the ones where they don't have to turn in the app anymore. They don't have to be hassled with trying to bring money to school. And so expounding upon that, and I'm probably going to get on my soapbox, but what the heck, I'm old. We really need to move this country to some kind of universal feeding. And we've got to do that. I've never seen a bigger need. I've never seen so many people that we would consider middle class or middle income in need of food for their kids. And it's very a humbling experience. We've never seen so many thank you notes. We've never seen so many thank you videos. One of the most touching things that happened is that a couple of our schools, the kids would go for a walk in the evening and they go to the school with colored chalk, and they would write these chalk messages to the lunch ladies. And the lunch ladies come to work in the morning and they would see that message written in chalk in the sidewalk where they set up the drive-through. So I've never felt that we're in the right place at the right time to have universal feeding, something we really need to push up for a country. This country needs to do it.
Absolutely. Well, don't get off your soapbox yet. I got one more question for you on this topic. What tip would you give to school districts or other districts that might be looking to get their schools CEP or something else along those lines to kind of keep this train moving forward?
Okay, so what I would say, if you want to move forward with CEP, just look at your numbers for free and reduced. And what I mean by that is directly certified. So directly certified from your state agency or your state department. So this has nothing to do with applications when you're looking at qualifying for some community eligibility. It's the ones that are directly certified. So in California, it's called CalPADS. So we look at the CalPADS number to see who's qualified, and then we can add to that students that we know are foster or migrant or homeless. We can add those students onto the list as long as they're qualified, and we have an agent at one of the schools who signs off to say that those students are there. We add all that together, and you want to have a high percentage, but the minimum percentage is 40%. We're qualifying 11 schools at 40% direct certification. And the reason I did that, because it does sound low, you really want to aim for 52 to 55%. The reason we're doing that is I just don't see a lot of free and reduced applications coming in this year. If students aren't on campus, or they may not have a means to get to campus, I'm not seeing a lot of free and reduced applications roll in. So we want to lock in that CEP for 4 years. We want to lock it in. So that's why I felt so strongly about it. So I'd suggest anybody who's thinking about it, if there's ever been a year you're thinking about it, this is a year for CEP. Get it locked in. The other way of doing this is Provision 2, but this wouldn't be the year for Provision 2 because probably be a lack of applications coming in. That's all based on applications. This is based on direct cert. So, and I'd be glad to help anybody who contacts me on how to do this. And there are a number of different resources available for community eligibility provision training. So first of all, you can go to School Nutrition Association and look under CEP. That will tell you some really good resources. Also under the USDA website, if you go to the school nutrition programs area and you click on CEP, there are some different websites. There's actually one for every state under that USDA. It'll take you to your state and it'll give you some resources on training. And then lastly, I would say that No Kid Hungry does a really good job of training people on how to set up CEP and how to get as many students qualified as possible.
Now, well, let me ask a follow-up to that, and that's talking about the USDA. I know that a lot of people don't realize how much information is available on the USDA's website about the waivers and those kind of things. I know we've sent out from School Food Handler, we've been sending just regular emails to people, and one of the best responses we got were people saying, "Thank you so much for telling us about this." And I kind of had to smile because it was a USDA website that was already there. There's so much on the USDA website that is buried and obscure that people just can't find. And amongst that information about the waivers, the USDA just recently extended several of the waivers that they had through the end of either the end of the year or the end of the school year. And just ask this question as an operator: which of those waivers are the most useful for you? Which of them are, and what's missing? What would you like to see that's not there?
Okay, I'll take your first question and explain to you the ones that are most useful at this moment would be the parent pickup waiver, where parents can pick up the meal. Is the one that we've been using since March 18th, which was Summer Food Service Program, SFSP waiver. That is also the emergency feeding waiver, SFSP. That was not renewed. So when schools start back in their regular fall session, that waiver goes away. That's the waiver that we've been using to feed everyone for free since March 18th, since the COVID breakout came about. Many organizations have written letters to USDA to please extend that waiver, please fund it. Because the reason that's important is now that we're back under the National School Lunch Program, we have to identify every student as they come through the line, which means we've got to figure out a way to do a barcode or a scanner or collect money. Because if they don't qualify for free or reduced meals, we'll have to collect a full price from each one of those students as they come through a line in the drive-through or whether they're on campus or not. Be much simpler depending on where the epidemic is state by state, to just feed everybody for free like we've been doing. We've got it down, and I would with Undersecretary Sonny Perdue to please just extend it at least through December. Let us continue to feed kids as we've been doing. Let them get the nutrition they need, and let's not hassle them with identifying as free or reduced or doing applications or collecting monies. It's just not the time to do it. It's the time to feed kids and give them the resources they need to fight this epidemic.
You know, I actually spoke today with a director of a high school district just outside of Arizona. She only got 5 sites. She did a survey. They're only going to have about, maybe a few hundred kids out of the 2,500 meals they generally serve every day on a regular day to come get food. But the problem is with NSLP now and the record keeping, she's only having 1 site where she's preparing food, and then they're ferrying food to the other 4 locations because under NSLP, they have to pick the food up at the location and they have to be recorded at the location. And another concern and another question is this: if you've got a low income person, they may not have a credit card. They may not have a debit card. And they may not have applied for free and reduced lunch. So how does that trend? If somebody rolls up with $3.50, you say, "I'm sorry, I can't take your money. Go hungry."
Of course, we're not going to turn them down, but we are going to encourage them to pay online. We will take personal checks, but like we've always done. But we won't be able to make change in the drive-through line at the moment. It's just going to go too quickly.
That's right.
And also, we're concerned about exposing our staff to potential germs or whatnot. So the more we get into trying to exchange coins and things like that, the worse that is going to be. So we've sent notice to all our school districts, all 4 of them, that we will be doing cashless, that they will be charged to their account, and they can go online and pay their account if they want to, or if they want to pay with a check, they can come up to the office here and pay with a check to pay their balance. But we will have to do a cashless. So that's part of the problem. That's why I'm thinking at least through December, couldn't we just continue that SFSP emergency feeding to allow us to feed kids, not hassle with collecting money or collecting meal applications and all this other kind of rigmarole that really is not helpful during a crisis?
Well, it's all the more reason to extend, like you're saying, the seamless summer for at least a few months, if not the balance of the year, and to start an aggressive push for universal feeding.
Yes, and if universal feeding is something that that Washington can't comprehend for the next few decades, let's just try to comprehend it for this school year. Universal feeding for this school year. All right, and put it under NSLP if you want to, whatever. But at least for this school year, let's just feed everybody for free. Let the kids have the nutrients that they need, because I can tell you, with everyone getting laid off in the job market the way it is, we've seen more people than we've ever seen before come through our lunch lines, and people that would not ever ask for any kind of assistance. We're seeing those parents come in, and it's very humbling, and we don't want to embarrass them. We would rather just feed everybody for free, get everybody fed, and get everybody back to work and get everybody back to school.
Now, since we're on the topic, Robert, I'm curious, since we're talking about waivers and CEP, what can districts that don't have a high free and reduced participation rate expect for this upcoming year and or do for the future to really help, again, keep this train towards universal feeding moving?
Well, unfortunately, though, all those systems work. Well, direct certification, which is what CEP is used, that's how people qualify for that. And direct certification means that someone would be on either food stamps or a Medi-Cal free, or like I said, foster or migrant or homeless. Those would qualify them as direct certification. So the advice would be, and it's really kind of humbling, is if you need assistance, ask for it. If you think that you might need food stamps, ask for them, apply for it, get on the pandemic EBT card. If you need that, get on that card, because get the family on the card, because it is something that will help qualify them for direct certification. But the higher income areas and higher income schools, unfortunately, unless they apply for some type of assistance, it's not going to work. And that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of people right on the border, or they might be laid off for 2 or 3 months. And to go back and forth to try to get on these assistance programs is just crazy. We ought to just put everybody on a free meal program from now through June, and just get them fed, and put it under a National School Breakfast Program, a National School Lunch Program, whatever it is. We just need to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the CDC just came out recently with a memo, and it was stressing the importance of reopening schools for in-person instruction, citing a number of different reasons. But one of them was citing the food insecurity for millions of children who rely on the National School Lunch Program. Just curious, what are your thoughts on going back and resuming classes in the fall?
Well, I can speak for our area and our state. It's really not a good idea at the moment to do that. It may change in the next 5 to 6 weeks. It may change, but right now we're on another one of those peaks, so it's not a good idea to do that. The way I feel about it realistically is my lunch ladies have been on campus since day one, and we have been there. We've been feeding the kids, and we figured out how to do it, and we followed all the protocols, and actually everything that Bart, you have sent out to us. We have used those flyers. We've used those posters, and we've figured it out. And I know classroom's a little bit more trickier, but we can figure this out as a country. It just means we have to have a little more creativity and bravery. I hate to say it, bravery. And I've never seen such bravery as I've seen with our nutrition workers and nutrition managers as I have this year.
Bravery is a great word. We are in the process of possibly building an alliance with a company that does COVID smart certification training for entities. And I was talking that they've got 2 board certified epidemiologists in their group, and I've talked to both of them. And one of the epidemiologists said this to me. He says, "Is this real?" He said, "It's absolutely real." He said, "Is there going to be a vaccine in the near future?" He said, "No." He said, "It's not." They said, "There's just not going to be." He said, "So what we're going to have to do as a nation is probably understand that we're going to have to figure out how to live with this. And he used the word be courageous and be willing to go back into society." He said, "Because we can't continue to do what we're doing, but we have to adapt what we're going to do to meet the challenge." And
yeah, that's why they call it a novel virus, because it is a brand new virus. We'll have to learn, just like we lived through the Spanish flu of the 1918s and 20. We lived through that with a lot less resources than we have now.
Absolutely.
But we lived through it as a country, and it's because of courageous people. We all have to be courageous, and nutrition workers have been on the front line of doing that. They've been out there since day one, working on the drive-thrus, working with students coming up onto campus and doing walk-up meal service. We have figured it out. We'll have to figure this out as a country, because this may be with us for another couple of years.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to let the education system drop and our students, test scores drop and their academic levels drop for 2 whole years, are we? No, we can't do that. The economy, we can't do that for 2 more years. Look, just think about how far we're going to be behind other countries, or how far our kids will be behind academically if we just, and I'm picking my terms very carefully, but this is our time to step up. This is our crisis. I just finished reading a couple of books on the 1920s, and they had some struggles back then, especially after 1929 and the 1930s. They had struggles, but they pulled through. And what we need is to come together and pull through it. A vaccine would be nice. I'm sure that's being worked on, and it could happen, but we can't put our life on pause until that comes about. We have to figure out how to get through this world with this virus in our midst.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, since we're on this topic, how do you see COVID affecting the landscape for child nutrition beyond this year?
Well, we've learned how to think very creatively, and I think that that's going to stay with us. We've learned how to package meals creatively, how to put meals together creatively. I think that's going to stick with us, and I think we're going to see a lot more um, meals that are containing ingredients that are prepackaged but looking fresh. And I think we're taking our lead from from the restaurant industry. So, say for example, bento boxes; those have been in the industry for quite a bit. Now we have these good-looking, meals that have fresh ingredients, but they're packaged in sort of a bento box. That'll probably stay with us. Um, we've looked at minimizing the number of items that we purchase so that every item that we purchase counts. Uh, we've looked at waste. So I think the way that we've looked at waste and the way we've looked at our landmark, our mark on society, our mark on the landfills and whatnot, that's going to stay with us. I think that we're going to continue to work on that and continue to reduce our waste and reduce our footprint on the globe.
Well, speaking of creativity, how's your branding and marketing changed or evolved, to really help maintain and grow participation for this year and the years to come?
Well, I'm very proud of our brand. Here, I'll hold it up right here. We put this forward, School Day Cafe, right there. Mm-hmm. The CEO before me, she put it into place, and I continued it. So I wrapped every truck with that logo. The building outside, it has the logo out there. It goes on all of our emails, all of our any kind of correspondence. We put that logo out there. It's helped a great deal. It makes us look professional, and it says exactly what we want it to say. It says eat, play, learn. That's what we're all about. Eat, play, learn. And I think a lot of districts have moved that way. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we in child nutrition are seen as the authority as providing nutrition to kids, and that we know what we're doing. Obviously we do. We've continued to keep the kids fed through all these crises. As the pandemic moved, so did we. We figured out how to do it, and it's been a week by week, day by day thing, but we continue to do it. So I think the more that other directions can get a logo and get a slogan out there and get their message out there, the better off we're going to be.
And this is the time. This is the time to do it, because I've spoke to you and I've known each other a long time. I've spoke to groups across the country, and I usually always start my talks with, I believe child nutrition is possibly among the most underappreciated departments in most districts across the country, and that's changed. That's changed in the last 90 days dramatically.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you, because if there's ever a time for us to market ourselves, it's now. We're seeing parents that are utilizing our program that have never utilized our program before in the past. So we want to put out the best product that we possibly can. So these will be continued customers. We will expand our customer base. And I see that as a residual effect of this crisis.
Yeah, and I also have heard from a lot of districts that have said this. They said, the parents, the problem parents in the past, they were small in number, but they were very vocal. And now what they're saying is some of those parents have came back to directors or to managers to pick up food during the pandemic and apologized. Said, I'm sorry. I did not realize that this is actually what you are serving every day. All they hear is what the kids say. And they didn't really realize that now they're actually seeing the meals. They're taking the meals home. They're opening up themselves and serving them to their children. And I think we've never had a greater opportunity than we have going forward to elevate child nutrition to a really different level within K-12 education, period.
Yeah, well, amen to that, Bart. And I'll say something right now about the summer feeding. So once the regular school year ended mid-June, we started with the regular summer school. We served more meals in the first 3 days of summer school than we did in all of summer school in 2019.
Wow.
In the first 3 days.
Wow.
So these are all brand new customers, and this is the time to impress them. And it's the time to get healthy food out there too. It's not the time to backslide into any kind of junk food. And I'm getting on my other soapbox right there, but we've got to provide them with healthy nutrients to fight this epidemic.
And I'll throw one other thing out, and this, and Wes, I'm sorry to talk so much, but
no, you're fine.
It's also the time to begin to develop a plan for once the school boards start meeting again, once the superintendents and administration start having meetings again, to make sure that as a director, you insert yourself into those meetings. And when school begins to come back, have managed site managers begin to insert themselves into principals' staff meetings, because that's one of the missing components I've thought for a long time, is that we don't insert ourselves into those conversations. We just wait until somebody calls us and says, we need this, we need that, or what's going on. And but now's the time, because they're going to give you a seat at the table now, unlike any time before, I believe.
Well, this is the time that we have to understand that we are an integral part of the school day.
Absolutely.
Students aren't coming to school every day for lessons, but they are coming to school every day for meals. So the role of public schools has changed since its inception in the 1890s. It's changed because schools provide not only meals, but health care. They provide therapy, as far as school counseling, that kind of thing. Those things are things that schools provide now that they didn't provide before. They provide immunization help. Some schools, like my last district, they had free dentistry. So schools are really the hub of the community. And I want to be careful the way I say that. It's not that we're trying to take over what the family does, but we are assisting the family in more ways than just education.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in our last kind of couple of minutes here, I want to ask you one final question that we've been actually fielding a ton of customer questions over the past couple of weeks on, and that is diversity and bias training for this upcoming school year. I'm just curious, what is your plan for introducing this topic of diversity and bias to your staff, and how do you plan on going about that? It seems like there's just not a lot of really good resources out there that really address this topic for school nutrition professionals.
Yes. Well, I'm going to be doing a lot of the training myself in those other areas. So when we're talking about those areas, I will be doing the training myself this year, but I do know a couple of companies that I will draw upon that will do more expanded inclusivity training for different groups, and I'll probably be utilizing them in the future. But this year I'm going to be doing it myself. I think it's important. Society is changing, and we need to be more aware of different types of families, different types of living arrangements, different types of workers that we have, and we need to treat them all with kindness and respect.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Robert, is there anything that you would like to leave our viewers with before we part ways today?
I would just say, if everyone has the chance to thank a lunch lady, do whatever you can to pat them on the back, give them a thank you card, give them a smile when you drive through the line. And these ladies and gentlemen are putting their lives on the line to serve kids because they love it and they feel that they're meant to do it. And we need to give them all the support we can.
Absolutely. Well, God bless them, because they are absolutely heroes. And we always knew it, but now the world knows it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you so much for your time. Robert, I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. We really appreciate having you on the show, and we will definitely have to have you back after the school year gets rolling. Well, gentlemen, y'all have a great rest of the day. And for everyone out there, we will see you again next week at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for another great episode of Friday Food Fight. Thanks, and take care.